Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to the lecture session on training and development. We are discussing on module 2. In today's session, we will be discussing on learning, training and development from a change model perspective. In the earlier lectures session, we have discussed on the different models of training. So here we will try to see what are the things that the training can contribute, learning can contribute whenever we are looking from the, whenever we are talking of the change model of the organization. So this part of the lecture session will be held on the learning, training, development, and we will look at from a change model perspective, because the ultimate goal of giving any training to the people or to the bringing in training in the organization is to move towards certain change. So we will look at it from the change model perspective. So we understand, like from a company's perspective, what employees learn, that is acquiring knowledge, skills, competencies, attitudes or behaviors that contributes to the development of intangible assets. Training refers to a planned effort taken by the company for employees to master their knowledge, skills and behaviors in order to apply them to the day-to-day activities. Now, why we are talking of the change model perspective? The term change involves the adoption of a new idea or a behavior by a company. It includes a new technology, the need to take better advantage of employee skills and capitalize on a diverse workforce, or the desire to enter into global markets. In the context of learning, training and development initiatives to contribute to business strategy, they must be implemented successfully, accepted and used by the customers, including managers, executives and employees. So for this, it is required that there is a change in the task process, there is a change in the mindset, there is a change in how people are doing things. So change becomes a very intricate part of the learning and development process. So there are 4 conditions which are necessary for change to occur. Like employees must know the reasons for change and they are agreed with the reasons. Employees must have the required skills to implement the change. Employees must see the managers and other powerful employees support the change. Organizational structures such as performance management and compensation system must support the change. Now we look at a change model at a glance. What we find, like whatever is in yellow color is the components of the organization and the blue color is in change related problems. So whenever there is a task, then what you have, task redefinition, challenges. With the informal organization, of course, there is a power imbalance. With the formal organizational arrangement, there is a loss of control, and with the individual, there is a resistance to change. So each of the components of the organization have certain change-related problems associated with it. Like with the task, it is redefinition of the challenges, and informal organization, how to deal with the imbalances. In formal organization, there is a fear of loss of control, and with individuals' resistance to change. Now, training and development can help to answer each of these change-related problems, which are related to each of the components of the organization, and help to solve this so that it is easier to bring changes in the organization. So as I have told already, like there are in the 4 change related problems which need to be addressed before going to address new training practice. They are resistance to change, loss of control, power imbalance, and task redefinition. We'll start with the individual component of the resistance to change. So, in the resistance to change, the organizational managers and employees may be anxious about change, feel like unable to cope up, value the current, and do not understand the value of the new one. There is a sense of loss of control which is related to the change managers and employees' ability to obtain and distribute valuable resources such as data, information, and money. Change can give less control or control over that which they did not have earlier. So there is a loss of control or change in the nature of control. Power imbalance. Power is referred to the ability to influence others. Managers may lose the ability to influence employees as they get access to database and other information and thus getting more autonomy. Task redefinition. In case, for example, the web-based training, it creates changes in the roles and responsibilities of managers and employees. In the change model, there are also the 4 components of the organization, and these components are the individuals, task, informal organization, and formal organizational arrangements. So, as a part of task, the organization has a process to assign tasks to its employees to achieve its goals. The individual motives play an important role in the fulfillment of the organizational goals. People cannot work in organization without any motives or purposes. Informal organization, it is the interlocking social structure that governs how people work together in practice. Formal organization, it is an organization with a fixed set of rules of the intra-organizational procedures and structures. Now, what are the major steps in the change process? There are 7 major steps of change process that training professionals may need to take into consideration. These are clarifying the request for change, making the vision clear, then designing the solution, communication and marketing for the buy-in. Like people should align with the ideas of the training that you are suggesting. Choosing and announcing the action as soon as possible, executing and creating short-term wins, then following up, re-evaluation and modification. Now we will discuss each of these steps in details. Clarifying the request for change. This stage is dealt with the clarification made in terms of the reasons for change, fitness to organizational strategy, effect on people and expected outcomes. Making the vision clear. The stage is to identify the reason for change, desired for achievement and how the change will be achieved. Designing the solution. This stage helps to review the potential risk and benefits from different approaches and to find out the best mix of performance measures and feedback. Communication and marketing for buy-in. This stage helps to connect with other groups that will be involved, including communication, finance, and operations, to consider the impact of change and develop an internal marketing plan. Choosing and announcing the action as soon as possible. This stage helps to make employees understand the causes of taking the final action for change. Communicating logic and reasoning can help overcoming resistance to change. Executing and creating short-term wins. In this stage, managers and change leaders must model new behavior and become enthusiastic supporters for the change process taking place. It is very important to do follow-up, re-evaluate and modify wherever necessary, because we understand change is a process of learning. And by learning, we means we learn from a past experience, we try to assimilate it in our future steps so that we can move ahead in the correct way. So following up, re-evaluating and modification. This stage provides scope with enough flexibility for making changes if required. Necessary information about the mistake, if any, issues, and work with the employees affected are shared with the employees. It is very important to share the correct information with the affected employees. Now, whenever we are talking of training, training is not only a process like an activity, but it is also a decision-making tool. And here now we are going to discuss training as a decision-making. In this is given the scenario, given the constraints, given the people who are there, and the objectives at hand, do we require to give training? Is training the correct answer or not? So that we need to find out. And for that, what we have is first is the concept. That everyone is required to make decisions and solve problems in their business as well as in their personal lives. Decision-making training contains all the materials needed to train others to make effective decisions. So how to make decisions itself a training, and whether to go for training is also a decision. Decision-making training can provide in the employees and it can enhance the management skills needed at every level of their organizational management. So why there is a need for training as decision making? It is for awareness generation, it is used by the practitioners, for managers and leaders, and for expert analysts. We'll go by each of these steps like sequentially. For awareness, so what are the styles of decision making? Exploring rational, intuitive and emotional decision making styles to learn their strengths and weaknesses. Mistakes, biases, procrastination and common decision making traps. Avoid and reduce common decision errors through awareness and simple strategies which are provided in this module. Decision-making techniques. Getting an overview of common techniques such as like multi-criteria decision-making, decision trees, like pro-con, conjoint analysis, etc. Now, what is the need of training for practitioners? For practitioners, decision-making is a process. It is a learning on the essential elements of a decision-making process. Evaluation of decision quality. Decision-making results may not be known for years. Learn to access decision-making quality before and after the outcomes. Decision timing, that is very important, timing of the decision. Discovering common errors with timing and the information needed to choose alternatively. Decision influence versus manipulation. Training explores positive ways to influence decision making as well as to detect and avoid manipulation. So, if you can understand like whether people are going to manipulate a decision or not. So, these like power of more or less discrimination, where we can discriminate between like what we understand by like manipulation, influence, and like whether people are trying to influence or not. So these are what we can detect if we have a proper training. What is the need for training as decision making for managers and leaders? Decision value and prioritization of exercise. So larger organizations use this exercise to generate high value opportunities in a single session. There are certain contents of ethical decision making which we need to be careful about. Distinguish personal morals from the organizational ethics and guide organizational decision making to meet company core values. The theories for making decisions, like when should we make a decision, how should we make a decision, these are all theories related to the question of decision making. So we need to gain insight from the interpreting the results of the survey models from like neuroscience, psychology, operations research, which may give us an idea about the how to make decisions and which theory to follow. Decision automation. Understand topics such as predictive analytics, big data, business rules and trends in machine decision making. So we can understand like the machine, like if a huge data is given to us, probably we'll be in a position to understand it, like predict it, also interpret it in a proper way. Now there are other kinds of decision making also, like group decision making. So it makes meetings more effective when there is a group decision making, collaborative decision making. So collaboration style is very important whenever we are talking of the group decision making. There's a marked change or the marked contribution in it. Risk and opportunity analysis. So we have to understand objectively what is the risk involved and like what are the opportunities which will be present, and like how to balance the risks and the opportunities. So like should we wait for the opportunities to come in, or we should take risk first so that opportunities will pour in later on. So it is where your choice lies on and how you decide to look at the things. Decision support tools and software. So survey of decision making tools and how they support decision making is very important aspect of like training programs. So we do have decision making tools like which help us in decision making and support our decision with softwares which are there. But every software does not solve every purpose. So like we need to be like focusing on understanding what kind of materials are required for our decision making and how much they are going to support. So these are the very crucial decisions that needs to be taken for like buying anything, like whenever you're talking of software or a tool with respect to maybe point 7, whenever we're talking of decision support tools and software. Decision making and knowledge. It is to see how employees relate problem solving and critical thinking systems. So knowledge base, how to create the knowledge base is very important, and decision making is, of course, is we have like crystal intelligence, we have fluid intelligence, and these aspects help in terms of like problem solving skills, critical thinkings, and then it forms a system as a whole. So how it affects these two things are very important understanding. For expert analysts, like decision speed, it is very important. Learn how completely and decision loops like how come it is to look at how complexity and decision loops works to slow decision making. So what are the hindrances that could be there, how complexity and decision loops could affect the decision making in slowing the process, and what kind of a damage like that could be done, so that this like the decision making process slows down. And again, what on the other hand, what can be done to increase the speed. So whenever we are talking of a decision speed, so you have to understand the complexities of the loop and how to see like what can be done to increase the decision speed. Specific decision making techniques and application. So like we can get a detailed training of a specific technique which is focused in the application. So based on like specific, it may based on your personal need, your already background knowledge, aspirations, certain training are more useful to you than maybe the other kind of training. So if you have those things written and people have shortlisted you, then there could be a line, there could be a waiting time, but you will be getting that training. So that get detailed training for a specific technique which is focused on your application. It may be time taking, it may take time, but you'll get that training what you have written in your application. So trade studies and trade-off analysis. So overview of utility curves, multi-level criteria of decision making, then your decision phase getting, and then decomposition of the large system decisions. So these are some of the things which you can use for like trade-off analysis, but these are again complex calculations which we need to understand first very clearly, then only we can venture for trying this out in the process of coming to some conclusions and trying to find it out what is the correct decisions. Connected decisions and requirements management. So the complete training on a decision making model to manage requirements and enable true change management for the large system. So it is like a training manual where it is mentioned like the complete training that the person needs to undergo for a decision making model, which will have an impact on the true change of the organization. But it is a lengthy process, it will take time, and it needs to be embedded in the system. So these are the references that we have used for preparing these slides. So this part of the lecture session has given a clear picture of the learning and training development from change model perspective. So what we understand in change model, there is an input, there is a throughput, and there is an output. And training processes, the concept of training could be related in each of these phrases, and so that is how training is related to change. On the other way, like in order to bring in change, then also there are certain aspects of like the entity on which you are working to bring in change process are like certain aspects which needs to be focused on, so that the change, and they needs to be like groomed properly. They need to be supported with hand-holding support properly to come up to the expected level, so that this change transition, the change way path of transition becomes very smooth. So, how to remove those hurdles, how to remove those drawbacks with the help of training and development is also the contribution of training and development. And we'll find these are different hurdles related to the different functions of the organization, and we have to address them separately by understanding their needs and what requires to be done. So that is how also training helps for a change process to be like fruitfully executed in the organization. And there are certain steps of bringing changes, as we have already seen. And if we can understand this part, like training is itself a change that we are bringing into ourselves and to the group, to the organization, and it is time consuming. You will have to give it its proper way, its proper time to show its results. And on the other hand, also, in order to bring in change process, education is very, very important, so that you get educated about, you get trained about how to remove the obstacles, how to increase your collaboration, how to talk to each other, so that when you share your ideas with each other, then some collective things, collective intelligence helps you to address the problem in a better way. So change and the process of change is very much intricately related to the training and development, and vice versa. Thank you.